A convenience store in the city was attacked by robbers, forcing the owner to hand over all the money if he didn't want to go to the altar to see green bananas. At this moment, a girl calmly walked to the checkout counter, took a pile of money, making the robbers completely dumbfounded. God of wealth, come here. Everyone, who would have thought that the god of wealth was nowhere to be seen, but only saw that girl punching the robbers without missing a single shot, kicking them right in the face. Every time they were a baby bird, reproductive tract, even if the opponent came at him with a knife, she would fill his mouth with onions. The beauty who danced among the wolves just now is the dog ultimate defense, but because her hands were dipped in too much melaleuca, she has now ruled it out. A hidden wandered who didn't care about the world. One night, she received a phone call from her best friend, Min-hee, saying she wanted to meet up urgently, so immediately wrote a large piece of along the way, not forgetting to buy wine and some dried aqua to drink. Since my best friend went to live abroad, we haven't each other for a long time, but when we got those, we didn't see Min-hee. We only saw a gift box lying on the bed. Inside were the pair of calf dancing shoes that you once gave us. Friend, there was also a piece of paper with the content asking you to avenge me. The female lead suddenly realized that something bad was happening. Sure enough, Min-hee phone rang from the bathroom. You went inside to check, but unfortunately it was too late. Best friend chose to commit suicide without knowing the reason. This scene caused the female lead to painfully collapse for several years apart, but when they met again, Eun and Young were separated after sadness. Dee decided to follow the woman left behind, which was to avenge his close friend. In Min's suicide letter, he wrote a social network account. When he entered it on his computer, he discovered that this was a personal account of a chef. The female lead sent a text message to the other person and lied that she wanted to order sushi, but the other person used a dark signal to chat with Ms. Ozu, realizing that this person identity was definitely not simple. However, she couldn't guess the other person dark signal, so he carefully pressed the end of the conversation. Min suddenly death made her begin to immerse herself in the drunkenness that kept appearing in her herd, upload pictures of her and her beat friend passed. Because she's assassin with blood on her hands, she doesn't have much emotions about life. On the contrary, Min is a weak and naive dancer. She takes Oju to take picture, swimming and enjoying the beauty of life. Because of the companionship of her best friend, the heroine no longer maintains a rigid attitude nor feels that life is boring and trivial anymore while immersed in memories. Then Min's phone suddenly rang. The other person was a man with a rough tone containing a threat. He didn't know that Min had given birth, so he asked her to meet in the middle of the night. His intuition told him that this mysterious person is Chef Choi, so the female lead launched a large pile up to the rendezvous point to set up an ambush, only to discover that they were trading something, and after finishing their business, Chef Choi called Min again. Hey, you saw the other person appearance and waited until he left. The female lead drove her motorbike to follow him to his house in the suburbs. However, she did not rush into action and waited until he left the house. Then she secretly pried the door open and went inside. She carefully mounted the recording device under the desk. Then, rummaging around, she discovered a strange cabinet with all kinds of sex tools displayed inside. Not only that, the drawer's GI also did countless USB, each one marked with the symbols of the girls he raped. Ok-ju trembled as he picked up the USB with the dancer written on it. Picked it up and plugged it into his phone to see what was inside. Is a video recordings the scene where Min was bewitched and sexually assaulted by chef named Choi. This made the female lead extremely angry and resentful. She felt like she had to kill that bastard through Q. Was overheads. You knew that someone wanted him to go fishing with him. Although the chef said that the fish there were too easy to catch, he still accepted the invitation, taking advantage of this opportunity. To inform her best friend, she opened Min's wardrobe and found a cute pink dress. Just like that night, she put on the dress and went to the bar, pretending to be a deer. She was bewildered and sure enough, Choi named had noticed her and started trying to start a conversation. He saw Oju's nervous expression and became even more interested after she dumped her. The beautifully pervert offered to drive Oju to the customer. The hotel took a break, but when she didn't pay attention to their names, she immediately fell unconscious into the heroin glass, waiting for her to fall into a coma. He opened his backpack full of sadistic tools, took out a mask, and put it on his face, crawled onto the bed and caressed Oju's body. He turned on the camera to record the hot scene that was about to happen. Unexpectedly, before he could take off his pants, Oju suddenly stood up. He pulled out a knife and stabbed him once, but his name was Choi, reacting very quickly, using her hands to block the blow. Oju was not willing to immediately rush in to fight him, even though Choi had superior physical strength. The female lead was not afraid at all. She slid behind the opponent, then jumped up and stabbed him in the face. The receptionist discovered something unusual, so he took a squirrel and rushed into the room and opened fire. The only thing he could do dodge and run quickly out into the hallway, but before she could go far, she was stopped on the way by someone holding an electric saw. At an emergency time, a female student accidentally opened the door in front of her. As a result, electric saw was thrown back, cutting off the perverted man's leg. Seeing someone was chasing the female student, quickly pulled Ogru away, and the two people driving the Lamborghini of the named Choi Hospital that night. The girl just now was also one of the victim of abuse. She told Ogru that the victim, like her, was still there. If you don't listen, the gangster will post video on social network. But your appearance gave her more hope to fight against evil, so the two decided to join forces together to take revenge after the female lead stabbed half of Choi's face. They were seriously damaged. In the hospital room, there were many other thugs, all of whom were members of a gang, specializes in illegal trading activated and business related to women. Surnamed Choi is also a member of this gang. Mr. Kim Mun requested that he bring Ogru in front of him within 3 days. They arrogantly went to a secret room hidden deep inside a drugstore. This was a dishonest doctor specializing in researching aphrodisiacs named Choi, paid a lot of money to bribe the other person to cooperate. When I killed the female lead, he wanted to take revenge for my handsome but despicable face. That doctor was equally cruel. He also wanted to record a video of the killing of Ogru to enjoy a few days later for the female lead. Went to the assassin company where she used to work and begged her superiors to show her where to buy and sell weapons. She needed guns and ammunitions to be able to defeat the sociopaths. The boss immediately introduced Cho-yu to an old couple driving a car selling balance. Heard that the female lead wanted to go hunting, so the couple gave her an extremely dangerous flamethrower that was hot on hand, took action, but he was very impatient. Thinking that the enemy would attack first, he even told Ogru to teach me how to use a gun. But the female lead did not agree because she did not want to drag innocent people into dangerous situation that night. Ogru went to the supermarket to buy food. She remembered that the first time she met Min was from this convenience store How Noodles, but after returning home, she didn't see any sign of him anyone. At this time, her name was How. The Choi family was hiding in the house and suddenly rushed out to attack Ogru. The female lead no time to react, so she could only run away, and the Hun was captured by the Choi family. He lied to the boss that he had killed Ogru and took her away, but in reality, they locked her up and interrogated her about the whereabouts of the female lead to inform her that Ogru had gone to the hotel that day. She easily killed the receptionist, and the remaining gypsy discovered it. There was something unusual, and he was about to go check it out. But as soon as he left the door, the beauty used a gun to his head and asked him about the whereabouts of Choi. Seeing that the other person had confessed honestly, the female lead gave him a gift. The sweet copper candy was appearing on the spot before carrying out the plan to destroy the dark gang. Ogru wore a new pair of shoes. That was the last gift Min gave me. After finishing preparing, she went straight. Arriving at Choi's secret base, she discovered that her uniform was covered in blood. This moment caused the flame of hatred in her to burn. She rushed into the elevator and killed all the guard guarding the door. Then the female lead, carrying sack body covered in blood, went to the enemy headquarters, where she saw them conducting research on all kinds of stimulant. She coldly walked over and asked everyone about her whereabouts. If she didn't say anything, she would help them reunite with their ancestors, under the golden stream. The gang boss came and poured wine and glass, told Ogre go sit down and talk slowly, but before he could finish his sentence, he was interested. The female protagonist pinned the bullet straight into the tip of the green grass and continued to ask people around her, but unfortunately the gun in her hand was jammed. Her juniors took the opportunity to attack. However, Ogre was already there, preparing. She pulled out another gun, then dodged the attack and carefully covered each guy one by one. In just a few short minutes, corpses piled up on the ground. Finally, he brought the face of death into the room. At that moment, the doctor driving the car carrying her body became extremely angry and immediately pulled out a gun and pointed it straight at the doctor, whose name was Choi, who was hiding in a corner, and secretly shot her, injuring her. The four-eyed guy breathed a sigh of relief and wanted to replace the Choi family name to deal with the female lead to get a share of the money. However, he was shot dead on the spot by the handsome pervert. Wouldn't be better to monopolize large amount of money? He held a gun. He slowly walked towards Ogre with complacent look on his face, but when he was about to attack, suddenly a gunshot rang out from behind. It turned out that he was still alive. His name was Choi. He turned around and was about to counterattack, but unfortunately, he was silenced. A series of bronze candies collapsed on the ground, waiting to die. Then the female lead and her husband drove him to a beach when they learned that Ogre's purpose was to avenge the calf dancer. Min named Choi and arrogantly said that even if she went to hell, she would still do the same thing to her. After hearing Ogre's face show extreme indignation, she told him, "You can do whatever you like, but this will be the last time you live in the world." She took out a flamethrower and burned him, so he had successfully avenged his best friend. Looking at the ocean waves continuously crashing, she remembered the moment when Min happily played after reporting. After completing the attack, the female lead took away all the USB in Choi house, then drove the motorbike and disappeared into the sunset. This is the end of the movie. Hello and see you again everyone.